It's another fine day at Camp Dynasty. I am Counselor Austin, joined by Counselor Collin. And football is rapidly approaching. The preseason in the NFL has started already. There's games happening. I have already experienced Packers fans melting down because of the result of the first preseason game.
Nothing really like waiting all year to watch football and immediately overreacting to games that don't matter because you forget how little the preseason matters. Because, like, when you think back on last season, you couldn't tell me a single thing that happened in the preseason.
Right.
But now we're treating them like they're the most important things in the world.
Which I get it.
Yeah.
We've all been deprived for too long. But which team was it that went 4-0 in the preseason that one year, and everyone was like, "Whoa, man, do we actually have to look out for these guys?" And then they were ass. It was like the Browns.
The Browns did it once, and the Bears did it in a season that they did pretty poorly. They were like undefeated in the preseason, and so it means
the
nothing. But
preseason champions,
even though it doesn't mean anything, is there anything, our guys from the 2025 class that we've been following this whole time finally suited up, finally played? Was there anything that stood out to you that felt like it might have mattered, or that you were just like, hey man, that was cool?
I saw Nick Scorton got a sack.
Yep.
I thought that was cool.
Yep. You picked him up.
I picked him up. I just picked him up. So secured that bag while I can. But outside of that, I haven't really seen any, like, on the offensive side, anything that's like particularly caught my eye. I have seen some Jackson Dart discourse, which has been interesting. I didn't actually watch him play, so I don't know where to fall on that. But some people say he was incredible, and others were like, what were you watching?" So what about you?
That's kind of the same, like, Shedeur Sanders experience, where it's like some people are like, dude, I can't believe this many people passed on him, et cetera, and other people are like, he was fine, like, it was cool. And I fall more into, like, it was kind of sick to see him, like, going out and serving it out a little bit, putting the watch up in the air is like, kind of feels kind of good.
You don't like that you like it,
right?
But part of you is like, oh, that's kind of,
it's like a guilty pleasure of like, kind of rub it in their face, Shedeur. But there was like an RJ Harvey moment for a second there, and it feels like a lot of the guys that people kind of put on their corner, they could feel decent about. Like Genty had -1 yards, and maybe there's a little bit of overreaction to that. But all in all, it's just fun to see these guys play.
I just remember, I was trying to, there was something that happened and I couldn't remember it. I just looked it up. Travion Henderson.
Oh, right.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That with the kickoff return, and it was like, oh man.
Yeah. And then he had like a 18-yard like catch and run too. And that was like, just both of those, like, oh man, I almost want to like move him up, but it's too late.
Yep. Slow down, but maybe don't, because goddamn, he's nice. Well, 2025, the guys, I mean, obviously that class seemed like it was going to be special. Hopefully it is special. Hopefully we have a lot of moments to talk about when real football starts on All Grown Up with these guys. But as much as we may want to continue to talk about the 2025 class, we have moved into 2026. And so we've kind of covered it at this point in terms of our positional rankings and getting into our top 12s, getting a little bit weird with a mock draft with some potential landing spots involved. But every single year, despite the fact that we have always been a one quarterback program, the people want to hear about Superflex, because this is the thing that has taken over the game. And I would say, I don't know what the numbers would tell you, but it feels to me like it is more common for dynasty leagues to be Superflex than not at this point. So despite the fact that we are, staying the course with one quarterback, we got to give the Superflex people something at least a couple of times a year. And this is one of those moments. And I'm particularly excited about this one and this year in general, like talking Superflex, because of how much different the class is when you think about the quarterbacks being involved as like high end assets, because we're already talking about them in the top 12 for one quarterback. So our top 12 for Superflex, which is what we're doing today, is going to, I think, involve quite a few quarterbacks.
Yeah, unfortunately, search functions are like completely broken in 2025 because I just looked up what percent Superflex league, like just bare bones, and everything is what is a Superflex league. It's like I don't even maybe just percent super. I don't know. So I was hoping I could get an answer, but AI has ruined search for good. So. This is a unique class, I would say, 2026, because of the maybe lack of depth at positions as like where we stand today, but also because of a lot of quarterbacks are in the mix. And so it makes the Superflex conversation a lot more interesting and a lot different than the conversations that we've had week over week so far, because we've been talking mainly about the positions, running back, wide receiver, tight end, the big positions in fantasy that are like traditionally kind of sought after. And, things at camp, you can go to camp when you're a kid and you go back when you're an adult, when you bring your kid there, things are the same. Tradition matters. And so we're going to stay true until that number is at 100%, and then we'll be like, back in our day, you started one quarterback like an NFL team.
Maybe this is the class that converts us. I don't know. Maybe.
We'll see.
But so with all of that said, I mean, if you have listened to our quarterback rankings or even our top 12 from a couple of weeks ago, a lot of this information is going to be kind of, maybe you've heard us beat this drum a few times already, but I think it's important. And what's going to be really exciting about this particular format is talking about the implications of these quarterbacks in terms of future pick value. Because if you are in a super flex league and you've heard us talking about how the 2026 class is weaker, 2026 firsts are worth less today than traditionally future picks might be, that narrative is going to get flipped, I think, when we talk about how this thing stacks out when we factor in the quarterbacks for Superflex. So maybe a lot of some of the information is the same about the players, but like the overall narrative, the overall kind of philosophy behind this class from Superflex angle is going to be a lot different.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think, like I said, the quarterbacks in this class, there's a lot of names that are in the mix, and so when you bring it over to a Superflex, those quarterback values obviously get inflated. And so you've heard us say like, hey, maybe you move that 26 first down the road to 2027. But if you're in a Superflex league, take that and question it a little bit with this conversation that we're going to have.
All right. I will kick it over to you.
All right.
Number 12.
Number 12, I have Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. He, again, you've heard about him over like the wide receiver rankings. You can get a more in-depth, like kind of scouting look at him if you want a big breakdown of Carnell Tate. But just an overlook is this is a player that is probably not in your top 12.
He's not.
Yeah. So I have him higher than Austin has him. He's going to be probably the wide receiver 2 in this Ohio State offense, which is not a fruitless position to be in because we've seen these wide receiver 2s not only get drafted, but get drafted highly in the first round. So this is not like some throw a dart at a guy that's not going to get a ton of volume because he has athletic upside. Tate is a smooth mover. He has great hands. He's flexible, and he can play inside and out. He plays mostly in the slot, but he kind of plays complement to Jeremiah Smith. So if Smith is like primary read out of the slot, he'll bump outside. But yeah, I just really like his catch radius. I like how he kind of attacks the ball and then stays upright. That was one of the things I liked the most on his tape, is that even if the ball is like low, he stays on his feet and like plucks it off the grass and then will keep going and like get some yak. So I'm a big fan of Tate. Sneak him in here into the 12 spot.
Yeah, as college football gets closer and closer now, we're like just over 2 weeks away from the first games kicking off. I'm starting to get a lot bit excited about watching these guys that kind of have the unknowns or they haven't had the full opportunities yet. And I think Tate is probably at the top of that list because he is such an alluring player from the sense of his background, and nothing up until this point has necessarily been because of his talent. It's been because he's been behind high-end NFL wide receivers at Ohio State. So this season, I think a lot of people are expecting to see kind of that breakout, and we've talked about that. It seems like that might be kind of baked in already for some people. But I think there's a good reason for that, because I think we are going to see a really strong season from him. And it is nicer as well. It's nice as well that he is one of the bigger wide receivers in this group, because I think generally kind of some of the top names a little bit on the smaller side. He's one of the guys that's filling in the little bit of that inside outside versatility, having that sort of boundary ability with his frame and his length.
We have the first college football game as of recording in 10 days. We have Iowa State, Kansas State, which shouldn't be a bad game. Both
which is going to be, that's a hell of a way to kick off the season.
So here we go. We're close.
I'm so ready. All right. Number 12 for me. We're going to start out with a quarterback. And this is the first of many on my list. I'll tell you that, because I have Sam Leavitt at number 12.
Okay.
Did he make your cut?
Nope.
So we briefly talked about Leavitt on our quarterback rankings. He was my number 7 quarterback at that time. Kind of saw him. He's a little bit smaller, and I don't think he has the biggest arm. And so that's always kind of like, it puts you in a weird spot as a quarterback. One that's having a lot of success, had a lot of success last year at Arizona State. But, from an NFL projection, it's always a little bit murkier with these guys. But I just see a lot of high level throws on Leavitt's film. I think there was, he was not a product of what was happening around him in that system. And, with Scadaboo and Jordyn Tyson, like all 3 of those guys were carrying their own weight on that team. And I think Leavitt deserves a lot of credit for the growth that he showed. And the growth, I think, can continue into this season. I mean, him and Jordyn Tyson obviously have a great connection going. They're running that back. So I think Leavitt, he's, you're going to see throws on his film with anticipation. You're going to see him, getting outside the pocket, making throws on the run, a little bit of scrambling ability as well. So even as the 7th quarterback in this group, and one that isn't, necessarily what I would consider a high-end quarterback prospect, I think he certainly is, deserving of fitting in near the, first round of this upcoming class.
Did you just spoil that you have 6 other quarterbacks in your first round? Did you say the 7th quarterback in the group? Okay, all right. Buckle up, y'all. That's what kind of class we're looking at. So Sam Leavitt is not in my top 12. He wasn't in my top 5 quarterbacks. He's my 7 quarterback as well. again, just like wasn't wowed by the arm talent, but there was some stuff. I don't want to parrot everything you just said back to you. But yeah, I just chose to leave him out here because I like the upside of Tate a little more.
All right. So you know that I got a lot of quarterbacks coming. Do you have a quarterback at 11, or what are we talking about?
IDP.
Oh, there he is.
I had to keep one in here. TJ Parker is the IDP that is most deserving to find the first round. And this is the interesting thing. If you're not playing IDP, get in on it because it makes your drafts really interesting and really deep. You talk about like you go quarterback at 12. TJ Parker's bumping somebody out probably because this is a premier player at a premier position that doesn't have a ton of like really high end players, and so you take a dart throw at one of these elite athletes, one of these elite edge rushers, and hope that it can turn into something. I don't know why I'm pitching IDP leagues, but more people should.
I like it. Yeah, let's spread the word.
I think like if you're not playing in IDP leagues and you're like those people are sickos, you're watching this in summer. You're a sicko too. Come over to the dark side. Enjoy some IDP. Have fun when your team's on both sides of the ball. You can root for AJ Brown on one end and Zach Bond on the other end. Okay, so that's all I have to say about my pitch, and it makes your drafts a lot more fun. You get guys that you're like, oh, this guy's falling, and it's like, well, not really, because TJ Parker has to go at some point. Everybody needs a DL, so. That's instead of talking about TJ Parker, I decided to pitch on IDP leagues.
Well, we have talked about him quite a bit because he is our consensus number one IDP heading into this upcoming season. I think, in an IDP class like this one, I think the board is going to be very interesting over the course of the season. And especially as we get into the postseason and the draft process, like there's so many IDPs right now that feel like second round dynasty rookie guys, like and potentially even first round. Like Parker has been kind of higher on your list and in non-quarterback. He was like number 7, I think, for you, or non-Superflex. He was number 7, but for me, he was like right at the tail end. And I think there's so many other guys that are right after that kind of fit into the next tier of the class. So I think from a general IDP perspective, this is going to be a really fun class because we have players across all 3 position groups, including DB, where it's like this could be like a high second round pick. So, but TJ Parker, yeah, I'm with you. He's not in my top 12, but he is, like I said, my number 1 IDP and just outside of this list.
Well, do you have another quarterback at 11?
I don't.
Okay.
We're taking a little bit of a break. Leavitt is a bit of a tier break for me. So now I am getting into wide receiver with Antonio Williams.
Okay. I have him at 8.
Okay. So what I found putting this together was that these guys that I had Williams at 7 in non-Superflex. Like these guys are getting bumped like pretty heavily, and that trend continues all the way up like 7, and then there's guys higher on the list that are going to be coming up here pretty quick because when the quarterbacks get introduced, the talent discrepancy between the quarterbacks and some of these players is pretty significant from my point of view. So a guy like Williams, who maybe we're even talking about him as like a potential top 5 sort of a player in the upcoming class from a, one quarterback perspective, he's sitting down here, fringe first rounder in this, in Superflex. So the value difference of you're talking about taking this player at 5 versus like 11, 12 in a Superflex. I mean, it's pretty significant. So that was, there's a little bit of a run here of players that I was like, man, that's kind of crazy that these guys are sliding all the way down here.
Yeah, absolutely. And he definitely got pushed down my board a little bit by these quarterbacks. I think he's down, 3-4 spots for me as well because of that fact of like Antonio Williams is a nice player. But he's not like a premier wide receiver asset, even though he's my wide receiver 2 in this class. It's like,
Yeah.
I just like, I don't love him enough to place him over the quarterbacks that I feel pretty confident about. So, yeah, he definitely gets pushed on the board despite me really liking him as just a wide receiver prospect. But it's just like, yeah, he's a nice slot receiver, good athlete. That's never had more than 1,000 yards in a college football season. Like, I don't know.
And I mean, the beautiful thing is with Williams and everybody else is that there is the upcoming season
Yes.
in question yet. And I think Williams is a player that I could see taking a step forward because his 2023 season was marred by injury. He talked about some, motivational concerns. He got himself on the right track last year and had a really, really good season. Opts to come back, try to put his name in the Clemson record books, the storied wide receiver history at Clemson. He wants to cement himself in the lore of Clemson wide receivers. So he's motivated. We've seen what that looks like in year 3 for him. Year 4, I think, could be even better. So he's certainly a player paired with a quarterback that's coming up later on both of our lists that could have a huge year and kind of make it well known that he deserves to be a top wide receiver in this group.
Yeah, he said some pretty sweet off-season quotes of like, yeah, I was going to declare, but I have basically like unfinished business. I didn't leave it all out there like I would have liked to. All those good things you like to hear before hopefully a non-disappointing season. Because if you say all that and then you like have 884 yards, it's like, all right.
That was fine.
Yeah.
All right. So number 10 for you
is Garrett Nussmeier.
And he is number 7 for me.
Okay. So here's my first quarterback entry. I have him a little lower than maybe consensus would be in Superflex just because I don't know how much I love the player. He feels a little bit limited athletically, but he's a really good pocket passer. That's just not like the archetype that I'm going to be drawn to. And I understand if you're like, yeah, well, it's still a quarterback in Superflex, so sign me up. I understand, totally get it. But I was lower on Cam Ward for the same reason that like I felt like he was, really good behind the line of scrimmage. He could read defenses, has good arm talent. Nussmeier has all those things as well at a little lower level than Ward did. Not as good at buying time, but yeah, he's a solid distributor of the football. He's going to have a ton of yards. He's going to rack it up, have a ton of touchdowns. I'm not sure how that translates into like an NFL scheme of an offense saying like, yeah, we'll have a quarterback that kind of parks and slides in the pocket and throws darts all game if you're not running like a pass first offense, or maybe he ends up in a Shanahan system and getting the ball out quick on time, and that feels pretty good. But just a lack of creativity behind the line of scrimmage is something that hangs me up.
Yeah, I like you calling out the Shanahan offense because I think that is kind of the ideal situation for a player like Nussmeier, who I like a lot. He's my number 5 quarterback in the class. But to your point, he is more of a pocket passer, and he's an undersized pocket passer at that. He's 6'2", 200. So he's not small.
Right.
But when you think about a guy at that size, you'd like to, have a guy that's a little bit, more able to get outside the pocket and create, as opposed to kind of what you get with Nussmeier. But that being said, the arm talent is phenomenal. I mean, the arm strength is great. The placement borders on elite at times. I mean, I mentioned this when we talked about him on quarterback rankings, but like he has some of the best throws on film from last season of any quarterback in this class. Like there are times where he is fitting it into the tiniest of windows with velocity and precision. And so I think he's certainly a player that I think can have a pretty high NFL ceiling under the right conditions. I've seen a lot of people talking about him as like a top 3 player in the class. Like if you check out an NFL mock now today, like you might see Nussmeier at like 101 or 102. I don't think I'm there with him, but like, I think he in the right, system and on the right team, I think he can be a very high level player.
Yeah, I think that absolutely is the case. Is like if things go right around him, he can be a guy. And so I'll reserve my judgment until that happens. For now, he's sitting at 10.
All right, so number 10 for me is, I lost it. It's Makai Lemon.
Okay.
So here again, referencing this run of players that's about to happen, Lemon was my number 4 player, and he is now all the way down here at 10. So that is kind of what we're talking about with this group. And Lemon in particular, I think, is a player that, despite the fact that he is my number 4 player, his grade is more akin to like guys that we had in the second round last year. So it's not even the fact like, oh my God, like this player is, all the way up at 4. Like, wow, he must be really good. Like it is all relative to the rest of this class. So, but that being said, Lemon is a player that I do like quite a bit. I know that you've been, I'm
not as
assuming
high.
you haven't had,
Yeah,
you have
I'm not as
had
high.
any revelations
right.
with Lemon.
Yeah.
But, slot receiver, I think maybe a little bit of versatility to kick out to the Z, has the speed, to easily stretch the field, has the ability to work down the field in like contested situations and things of that nature. I mentioned the name Jalen Knoll when talking about Lemon. I see those players as very similar style, similar demeanor. So I like Lemon a lot. I think the USC wide receiver room has a couple of guys with Lemon and Jacoby Lane to keep an eye on for sure this year. Lane being more of the outside X type wide receiver. But I like Lemon's game quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't mind Lemon at all. I just feel like he's kind of getting lost in the sea of like players in this class. Like, I think you mentioned it.
I feel about all of them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think you mentioned it before. It's like you kind of copy and paste a lot of these like descriptors, and you wouldn't be able to place the player to like the scouting report almost. So it's just not my type. Maybe it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, when you have 3 guys that we're talking about with Lemon, Williams, and Eric Singleton Jr. being all the same size, all very similar skill sets, similar roles in the it kind of does become a little copy paste after a while with these guys. And I think this upcoming season is going to be the decider for how these guys, ultimately stack out.
Yeah.
All right. So that's my number 10 and your number 9.
That was my number 10, Nussmeier. My number 9 is Antonio Williams. I said it was 8 before. I was looking at my list wrong.
Okay.
So I have Antonio Williams here at 9, and I don't think we've heard your 9.
9 is Jonah Coleman.
Jonah Coleman. All right. I have him at 8.
Okay. See, now that's what I was wondering because he was our number 3 player.
Yep.
And I was wondering how far you were going to kick him down.
Right.
Because I felt like going to 9 was like, man, that's kind of nuts. But like,
kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I like Coleman a lot. I do. And when we talked about him, it was very clear that we both like really connected with his game. But that being said, the preliminary grade that I have on Jonah Coleman right now is not very high. Like this is not, we're talking about a running back here that I still think has like, day 2 ceiling right now at like middle of day 2 type of a player. So it's, that's kind of the state of the world, as we've said. But with Coleman, I think this running back class in general, like needs a lot of help. And I think Coleman is the bridge guy between Jeremiyah Love and everybody else, in my opinion. So Coleman is the guy that's, put out some pretty good film so far. And I think can have a big senior season and really cement himself as like the second guy in this group. He's going to be nowhere near Jeremiyah Love when it's all said and done. but I think that's fine. And then, just hopefully somebody after that, like takes a jump forward. But Coleman is the only other running back that I have in this top 12.
Yeah, same. He's my RB2 still. I moved him. I flip-flopped him with a player from our rankings to now. I won't say who that is because obviously they're coming up. But just because, like, I felt like at the time it was almost like I loved Jonah Coleman, but it was more so the any port in a storm kind of feeling where it's like, oh man, I love Jonah Coleman. It's like, well, this is like one of two fun tapes out of all the running backs I've watched so far, and like maybe that was the problem, but still having them like towards the end of the first round, still having them. I mean, it's like right middle of the first. Feel pretty good about him. Fun player, but maybe was like over my skis a little bit when we're doing running back scouting and trying to find pretty much anything in this running back class that makes you feel like confident that you can put a take on. And I'm glad we came to the same realization that it was Jonah Coleman and that he was fun to watch, but it's still like my feelings are starting to wane a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, ultimately, you can like the class is the class, like you can't, like if Jonah Coleman's the second best guy, then that's what it is,
right?
And that's fine. Like he's a fun player.
Yeah.
He's an awesome player. I love watching Jonah Coleman, but I mean, when you talk about what is his ceiling in the NFL, I think it's like, yeah, he's probably like a fringe round 2, round 3 kind of a player. If
people love like asking, well, how would you rank him compared to other classes? And that's kind of a thing that we throw back and forth. It's like Jonah Coleman last year, like I don't know, man. Like I don't know if he's
right now
top 10 running backs for me. Like I'm trying to rack the list.
Based on my preliminary grade for Coleman right now, he would be my number 9 running back last year.
Right. And he's sitting at RB2 in the first round here. So tells you a little bit about the class, tells you a little bit about, the running back class of last year too. Like it's not like we're looking at it in a vacuum. You're looking at it against a pretty stacked class, but it's still like, okay, when you look at it that way, it's kind of messed up.
I just love, like, if you are a Superflex player and you have found our rankings and you're here for the first time, hello. Yeah. But just know we aren't usually like this. This is just because this 26 group is a little interesting.
Yes.
I am not the type of person to just try to dunk on every, class as they come through to just make myself like, oh yeah, no, I knew that guy was, like that's not what this is. And I think it's my list, right, is about to like heavily turn.
Yeah, I agree. I think it starts getting pretty cool after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the last one where it's like, yeah, I feel like I kind of sobered up a little bit after a night out with Jonah Coleman. And now it's like looking across the bed and it's like, like.
Where are we at?
That was Jonah Coleman was my number 8, your number 9. Yes. So you're number 8.
Okay. So here we go. Player higher on your list, Cade Klubnik.
He's my 6.
Okay. I actually thought he would be higher than that.
Okay.
So Klubnik is QB 6 for me and player 8 for me. That's where we are.
Yep.
I mean, and the thing with Klubnik is like, I've talked about the fact that I don't think his arm matches the guys ahead of him in this group, which I included Nussmeier in that. He is QB5, player 7. Klubnik is player 8. I think Nussmeier's arm is definitely more live and stronger, but Klubnik, the growth that we saw from him last year as a precision passer and a passer to all levels of the field, I think was very encouraging. And I think this is another player that if you talk about him in that more, Shanahanian sort of offense, I think that is the perfect situation for this type of a player. And honestly, I think he can have a huge year this year. Like he can compete for the Heisman this year because that team is absolutely loaded. And as long as he is the guy we saw last year, maybe even a little bit better than that, I think that team's going to be very good, and he will be in the national spotlight all year.
Yeah, stick around for next week's episode because I got a take for you, but that's a tease. Klubnik, yeah, I like Klubnik's tape a lot. I just am a fan of the multiple arm angles, the accuracy, like you said, layering it to different parts of the field. I feel like he just has a really good feel for the game, it seems like, and maybe that's due to multiple playmakers on the team, a good supporting cast, but him just kind of commanding and moving behind the line of scrimmage. He can run a little bit, which is why I end up putting him over Nussmeier. He's only one spot above Nussmeier in my quarterback rankings. And that's just due to take a little bit of the arm away, put it to the legs, and I feel pretty comfortable because running's worth more than passing in fantasy. It's works out as simple math for me in my head, but I understand if you think he's more limited that you would want to go with the guy with the bigger arm. So I feel like it's a horse apiece and you're kind of splitting hairs. But I am a big fan of what Klubnik can do. I think he's going to have a really big season with a really good supporting cast at Clemson. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him in awards races at the end of the year.
Your number 7?
Eli Stowers.
There he is.
Yep. You have Nussmeier here. So where's he on your list? We haven't seen him yet.
Stowers is not in my top 12.
Brutal. Okay.
I love the kid, man.
No, I understand. So Stowers is tight end 1 for both of us. That's why I'm surprised he didn't make the list. But I also understand with the amount of quarterbacks you have in here and the format that we're going with. I get it.
I mean, once upon a time, a tight end being in the first round was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Just the last 2 years, we've had Bowers and Loveland and Warren, and now it feels like not having tight end 1 in the first round is what the hell?
Yeah.
But
right.
I mean,
yeah, back in your day, I get it. And but I just feel like Stowers is just such a fluid athlete at the tight end position. He basically is learning the position. He transitioned into the tight end role a couple years ago and already looks pretty natural at it and is a decent blocker, is a good route runner, has great athletic traits, and then just give him another year under his belt. I feel like we're going to be sitting as this guy is a elite tight end prospect, and also there's nobody else that I love out of the tight end position. So you kind of got to pay the tax to get the number 1 guy because the number 2 guy is going to be pretty discounted. I kind of feel the same way with the tight end position as I do with the running back position in this class. Is I just don't nobody really made me care about their tape a ton by watching it when I was going through tight ends, and so I feel pretty confident that Stowers is going to have a really good year and he's going to end up being the consensus tight end 1. If he ends up at 7, it's a little high, I understand, but I just feel so much more comfortable with this player than I do about everybody else that I've talked about so far.
So 2023, which is when we started Camp Dynasty, tight end 1 pre-draft, taking the draft and landing spot and all that out of the equation. Pre-draft, Dalton Kincaid was my tight end 1, and he was my 12th overall player. And I think that is kind of that's how I'm kind of readjusting with this class, because I think Stowers is more akin to a Dalton Kincaid level player than the last 3 guys we've had. These and to your point, maybe this is the year he gets there, because he is that last year was his first full season as a tight end, and he was first team all SEC, and he's unanimously our tight end 1 going into this year. So he could absolutely take a massive step forward again this year and become that sort of a player. I think just today he is not there for me. So that's why he's just outside. 14th is where he is sitting for me in terms of Superflex today. So that is for a tight end, still pretty high.
I think you need to unbind yourself from the shackles of convention in a class like this.
Michael Mayer, that's one that I still think about a lot, because Mayer was a guy that was like, do you remember how Mayer was talked about early in that process?
He was talked about as like the no doubt, like, and then went to a bad spot, and then immediately they drafted Brock Bowers, and you never heard from him again.
But even before all of that nonsense happened, he was still only 15 on my board, pre-draft.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't remember where he was for you. That's a long time ago. But I mean, I think the last 2 years have kind of like skewed how we think about tight end.
I think it desensitized me to like where I should be putting a tight end, and then like also looking at the players I have behind him. I'm also who am I going to put above him? Like maybe Nussmeier, but like I don't know. I don't feel great about a lot of these guys either. So it's just like circumstances that have brought us to this point of, this is where we're at.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you having him here, because I think he's an awesome player. Right. So, all right. My number 6 player is Fernando Mendoza.
Okay. I haven't moved him into my quarterback list. I still have a TBD on him, and it's going to take some games this year for me to feel great about him.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, because this is Dynasty, we're talking about fantasy football. Like, Mendoza's game, I would not say is the sort of like fantasy friendly quarterback style, but I think the same can be said with players like Nussmeier and Klubnik. I mean, you get a little bit of mobility with those guys, and Klubnik in particular, I think offers a little bit. Mendoza is definitely more statuesque. That's not to say that he can't get outside and scramble, and like, I mean, that definitely happened last year. Indiana's talking about him like a mobile quarterback, whatever. He's not. But I think from a, arm perspective, from a quarterbacking traits perspective, and especially from, kind of the glimpses that you got to see into his game at Cal, which was, he's surrounded by a very poor cast of characters. The offense is not humming at all. And he is kind of the only driving force, it seemed like at times, behind, making that thing move. And it was because he has some truly jaw-dropping throws on film. Like, he has some of, high level NFL, caliber stuff on film with receivers that we aren't talking about at all, with a running back that was hurt, and now, the Jade Knott stuff, we talked about that. Like, that was not the real Jade Knott last year. Like, that offensive line was horrible. Like, he was really not well represented, I think. And that's a lot of the reason why, I kind of take a little bit of the, the good of his game and kind of extrapolated a little bit to say, now that he's at Indiana, I think we can see maybe the best version of Mendoza. I do think a lot of what you saw was certainly in progress. I think a lot of his, like, the jaw-dropping throws, the placement, the anticipation, the processing speed, I mean, all of that, as high level as it was at times, it was very inconsistent. So we need to see that next level of consistency from Mendoza at Indiana, but I think the situation can help him get there. He's got a true, number one wide receiver with Elijah Surratt now. So I'm really excited to see what he looks like this year, and to see what that could mean for him from an NFL draft perspective.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him with a real wide receiver in Surratt. I like Surratt, and a good supporting cast with Indiana. Like, you look at what they did last year. If you import a good quarterback, and Mendoza should be that, then it could be a really successful team, really good passing game. So I'm cautiously optimistic about what I'm going to see, but still want to see it.
I'm gonna kind of helmet scout a little bit here, but I don't think it's super far off. Mendoza, from a fantasy perspective, like Jared Goff type of a ceiling.
Okay.
But
I don't hate that.
I mean, the best Jared Goff that we got, and especially with the Lions, like, what has he been finishing in quarterback rankings?
Good question.
Top 15?
Yeah, I mean, around there.
So if Mendoza can get there, top 6 Superflex pick.
Sure. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, if he's hitting those kind of things where it's like Jared Goff the last couple of years, Stafford, and like when he was dealing early with the Rams, and if he is hitting those heights of pocket passer that is, in a great system with a great supporting cast and et cetera, then I can absolutely see him being in here.
All right, your number 5.
My number 5 is Jordyn Tyson.
Same.
Okay. So Jordyn Tyson, wide receiver, both are wide receiver 1s. Just an extremely fun player, a really nice surprise. I mean, I think from here on, we both have a lot of players that we're really excited about. And so top 5 picks are where you want to live in this Superflex draft if you're looking for a quote-unquote premier player, which is different than all of the other content that we've talked about, and that's why this makes this so interesting. And your mileage may vary on if I like my through 7, I don't hate, with Klubnik and Stowers included, but I think 5 and above, you're getting truly real game-changing assets. And so Jordyn Tyson feels like that to me, where he feels like one of the X wide receivers that is going to, make a real impact on a roster day one that you can feel comfortable throwing in your starting lineup. I don't think any of these other guys you can feel comfortable about doing that day one. Tyson, I feel differently about. I feel like if you're getting him, he's going to be, slot him in as a flex as your wide receiver and just feel great about him because he's an awesome player that has a good route runner and a great, point of a high pointing contested catch receiver.
All the other receivers in this class, there's so many butts with them.
Yes, a lot
of
butts.
He does this really
one
well.
Each.
But yeah, each one has a butt.
Yeah.
But you're always, it's like, man, I really like what this guy does, but he doesn't do this really, but the role is really murky. What is it going to look like? Tyson is the only wide receiver in this class that I don't feel like there's really any caveats to his game. Inside, outside versatility, can run all of the routes, physical through his route. He's not going to be phased by more physical defenders. He's not small, but he's 6'1", 195. Doesn't that's not a problem at all. Like you said, contested catches, the hands are excellent. He's an awesome blocker. I mean, really everything about his game is so promising and so good. I think the yards after the catch, that's the one thing. And that's tends to be the one. That was the one with Marvin too. It's these guys, sometimes you do everything really well, and I'm not comparing him to Marvin, by the way.
He's better.
But yes.
Yeah.
But the yards after the catch, that one kind of tends to lag behind a little bit. But when you're such a pure separator in the way that Tyson is, it's it's not a huge deal to me. You're not making your money as a yards after the catch player. You're making your money by getting open constantly and from multiple positions and with a variety of routes. So he's excellent. He's one of my favorite players. I've scouted in 4 years of doing this.
Yeah, I have a ton of fun watching Jordyn Tyson, so hopefully it all pans out the way that we expect it to, because I want to see him tearing it up in a year's time in the preseason.
Man, it's crazy that that's going to come quicker than you want it to. We're not even to their final season. Well,
all right.
all right. Number 4, we both had Tyson at 5.
Yep.
So your number 4.
My number 4 is Drew Allar.
And same here.
Okay.
I wonder if we're
going to be lockstep going forward. So Drew Allar, a quarterback that is a dual threat quarterback. Penn State guy. We all probably, if you're on here, you know who Drew Allar is. A player that has a variety of tools in his passing game kit that can, gun it down the sideline, but also works in the middle of the field really well. Is a good RPO player as well, and then also has like dynamic running ability. He can pull it on a read option. They do QB draws with him. They use him in short yardage situations, which is good and bad. But I like it for fantasy. I can tell you that. So Drew Allar, I feel like is pretty locked into if he repeats what he did last season, at least he's going to be a top 5 pick in this next class. If he's better, then he could be fighting for the number, like the 101. So I really like him both as an NFL prospect and as a fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, it is. The question of ceiling with quarterbacks is really interesting to me because we obviously, like, when we say high ceiling quarterback, that typically comes with the running, passing, work baked in. Because I mean, like, we've seen what Josh Allen's been doing. We've seen what Lamar Jackson does in fantasy. I do think it's kind of interesting that like we only talk about ceiling with guys that can move, because I mean, how many examples are there of guys that are just like elite quarterbacks that can lead the league in stats and then therefore be like elite fantasy guys? So the reason I'm saying all of that is because my inclination here was to say, with guys like Mendoza and Nussmeier and Klubnik, those are guys that I would say that the ceiling is lower. Like, when we talk about Allar and above, those are the guys that I am viewing as high ceiling, meaning I think all of the guys, there's 3 of them. I don't think that's any surprise. All of these guys have what it takes to like win an NFL MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that Drew Allar is going to come into the NFL in 2026 and be like an elite quarterback out the gate and be like an MVP contender. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Allar, his makeup, his arm talent, the growth that we've seen from him year over year. We've been talking about him for 3 years, it seems like now. 2 year, I mean, going back to watching his 2023 film is what I mean, ahead of last year. Like, the growth that we saw from him was pretty extreme from my point of view. And like you're saying, with his ability as an athlete, like, I wouldn't necessarily call him like a high end, like, scrambler threat or anything, but like, he is an athlete, meaning that he is capable of getting outside the pocket and making plays with his feet. And at his size, I mean, that's like, that's okay. Like, I don't want him to lower the shoulder, but like, he's got the ability to do that and not like come up hobbling like
right.
Even like a
Anthony
Lamar
Richardson.
Jackson. Yeah,
right.
well, right. Whoa, that got too real.
Yeah. Okay. Looking at, because I just wanted to pull it up in my Superflex league, 4-point passing touchdown, which is not generally what we're looking at here. We normally do 6-point passing touchdown, 1 quarterback. Still inflates their value without deflating the amount of them that are available. But 4-point passing touchdown, you're looking at like Lamar and Josh Allen obviously are the leaders, and those are the premier rushing quarterbacks. But then it's Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield, and those are pocket passers. So then Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, it kind of goes back and forth. But you look at these guys, and it's like you want a running quarterback, and it's like, well, you also could have a guy that throws for 4,500 yards, and like those are the 2 bins you can pick from for quarterbacks. I just feel more comfortable saying I think this guy will get rushing touchdowns than like I think this guy will throw for 4,500 yards, because like one feels a lot more attainable than the other.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think maybe it's like the game breaking ceiling.
Yes.
Like guys like Allen and Lamar have like kind of broken it. Like they'll score like 100 more points than the next guy because of that dual nature of the game. I think Allar is a player that like theoretically you could say has that type of a ceiling. Like that trajectory for him is in there.
Right.
So I think him being the number 4 player in a class while saying that is a testament to the strength of the top end of this class from a super flex perspective. I mean, we were talking about Allar in one quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that is how alluring his game is. And I think we talked about it on quarterback 2.0, but I think he kind of got stigmatized because of his performance in the final game of the year, the playoff game, in which he had, admittedly one of his worst games, if not his worst game of the season.
Yeah.
And I think you had a lot of eyes on that game. And I think you had a lot of people that were hearing a ton of buzz about him, you know, oh, he's going to go back to Penn State. But what happens if he rips off a big run in the playoff? Like, would he enter the draft? Could he be the first overall pick? And then you had everybody watching that game and being like, this is the guy that was going to be the first overall pick. Really? So I think that was a disservice to his overall body of work from last year and the jump that he made from 23 to 24. Given how loaded that offense is this year again, I think this could be a massive season. Like he has everything it takes to be a number 1 overall pick. He just happens to be in a class with 2 other guys that kind of fit the same bill. But those guys are not guarantees. One of them might not even be in the class. It's kind of feeling like he won't be. And the other one is like a little bit of
It's a lottery ticket a
projection.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Allar very well could be the number 1 overall pick next year.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where I'm at. Is Allar last year was really good and like might have been in conversation with like for like going ahead of Jackson Dart, maybe going behind Cam Ward, maybe not. Like if he was really nailed all of the offseason stuff, who knows what could have happened. But he has obviously told one thing and obviously felt like he had, unfinished business at Penn State. And I also like, I don't know if the staying one more year matters to you, like being 1 year older, all of that stuff. It doesn't matter to me, not with quarterbacks, because like the longevity of the position feels like if you're coming in at 24 versus 22, I almost would rather have you be 24 because it feels like the experience you're getting in college is valuable, the hits you take, the reads you make. If you're in like a decent system with decent coaching, it feels like it's more valuable for you to stay in and have like a full understanding of the position, have a fully developed frontal cortex before you enter the NFL and start making like big boy reads and taking big boy hits, because like you kind of go in and you feel like you have solved the quarterback position at 21 years old, and then you get reality checked by the NFL. It feels like that works out less and less as we've gone about. You look at last year, you look at, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix kind of already figured it out. And you look at, the younger guys, Caleb Williams, and it's like Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy obviously got hurt. So, like, that doesn't count. And Penix was sitting most of the year. But, the older guys came in and didn't have as much of an issue as some of the younger guys.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I mean, Jaden Daniels, compared to what he looked like in college, 2-3 years ago,
Yeah,
like he came in firing.
Yeah, it was my biggest like issue with him was like I saw him 2 years ago and he did not look good, and like I'm not gonna believe in this like 1 year of LSU, stat padding with Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and it's like no, he was part of the reason too. Like he was 1/3 of why that all worked. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of like him staying one more year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think all of that is to say, like, this is a really high end quarterback prospect. I think this top 3 is like super high end. And I think Allar is a player that can even, exhibit more growth this upcoming season and really put his name into a special conversation.
Number 3.
All right. Number 3.
I have Arch Manning.
Okay.
Yep.
I have Jeremiyah Love.
Okay. That's what I figured where we'd be at here. So I'll go Arch Manning, and then we'll do Jeremiyah Love. I have Jeremiyah Love at 2.
And I have Arch at 1.
There we go. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So do you want to wait on Arch Manning? I feel like that's the conversation to have.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So
sure. Let's do Jeremiyah.
Let's do Jeremiyah. So you have him at 3. I'll let you start.
So, I mean, obviously, Jeremiyah Love is the premier talent in a 1-quarterback dynasty rookie draft for 2026. At least so it appears today, but I would be very surprised if it changed. Not like, here's the thing though. I would not compare it to like a Bijan or a Marv situation simply because of the touches thing. Like his limited touches and the injuries that have happened despite even having limited touches. So like there is kind of this like lingering question about what kind of workload can he handle. He's added weight this off season. So like I wouldn't call him like undersized anymore. He was at 205. Now he's closer to 215. But so there is that like lingering question with him. But outside of that, I mean, what you see on the field from last season is truly special as an elusive, speed sort of runner first, but also a guy that is very capable of lowering the shoulder and running through guys. That was the big thing. And we've talked about it a lot, but that was the big thing that sold me on him being a truly elite running back prospect. Was he's not just the home run hitter that you're seeing when you turned on Notre Dame, Indiana, and he ripped off the 98-yarder. He can do that. And he does that, he does that type of stuff a lot, maybe not 98 yards, but he was ripping off big plays a lot for them in limited work. But also if you read turn on the, random 2nd and 8 run that he has where he ran through a linebacker and then like hurdled a guy, like that's the kind of stuff that really puts him on the map. So I think this upcoming season, hopefully we'll get to answer some of those questions about, why is he only getting 10 touches a game? What can he stay healthy for the full season? All of those things. But, his skill set is very, very special.
Yeah, those are all of my questions where you watch him play and you're like, man, this is a 101 type of guy. This is the premier talent, the guys that, you'll be jockeying for position over the year, kind of standings watching and like looking at people's rosters throughout the year. And you're like, how can I get that guy's first for 2026? Because I want a chance at Jeremiyah Love if you haven't been hoarding him already. And you haven't sold him off because we told you to. But Jeremiyah Love is just a ton of fun to watch. He's got, all of the like complete package besides like what you said with the durability and the volume, where you have those questions of, am I getting a guy that can be a real bell cow in the NFL, which I'll continue to say doesn't exist anymore. We have 3 or 4, I think, bell cow running backs, and less is that a real thing. And that's gone with the running backs don't matter movement of, we're not taking running backs high. Ashton Genty just got drafted, 9 overall. But for the most part, we're not drafting them. We're not paying them. We're getting a bunch of guys to run in this room. Maybe we'll give one guy 200-plus carries. But, we're going to outsource our third down stuff. We're going to outsource our pass blocking. We're going to have Justice Hill getting touches in here, even though we have Derrick Henry. So we'll see if a bell cow, if like Jeremiyah Love is a 270 plus touch player, or if he's more like a really efficient 210 220 touches, which I think is more so in his future, but still places him firmly up in the top of this draft.
Yeah, the bell cows in the NFL right now are the guys that the fantasy influencers are telling you to sell after every year. So like, is being a bell cow even a good thing? Like if I have a bell cow running back, is that even a good thing?
I had 300 touches last year. That means he's going to get hurt this year. It's like, or maybe he gets 300 touches again. I don't know.
Maybe he's going to be really good again.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who knows?
All right. Jeremiyah Love, the premier non-quarterback asset in the upcoming 2026 class. However, there are a couple of quarterbacks here at the top. We have them in different orders. And number 2 for me is LaNorris Sellers.
Sure is. It's my number 1 quarterback.
So we had this conversation a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And you were like, all it's going to take is 2 weeks.
Yep.
When I see the 2 weeks of Sellers going crazy, I'm in.
Yep.
And what we have found out over the last couple of weeks is that you haven't even needed to see those 2 games. You're just slamming right now.
Yeah, I have like fully bought into the Sellers. Like I just, we keep watching tape. It's not like you go and you stop, because I just like, spin a few more games, and it's like, man, I just can't stop like laughing at Sellers tape, like watching him do things to people that all the other players in this class can't do. And yes, LaNorris Sellers has things that I don't love that show up on his tape, but like, if we're being honest, and this also comes with a caveat with Arch Manning, but when it comes to May and he's drafted top 5, and you're sitting there like, okay, that's awesome, and you're going into your rookie draft, and it's like, or I can have the cheat code where you look at the running quarterbacks, and as much as Allar is a running quarterback, Sellers is at a different level athletically. You look at like what he can do, and though Lamar is different, he's the QB1 last year and has 100 more points than Jared Goff, who's QB8. Even like Josh Allen, who had 500 rushing yards, has 50 more points than Jared Goff, who was like one of the best pocket passing quarterbacks in the league. So you take that and you get the cheat code of, LaNorris Sellers could have 700 yards rushing and like 3,500 yards passing, and like, I'm in. Like, I feel pretty great about that. Sellers is a ton of fun to watch and a ton of fun to root for. And I know that you agree with all that, because he's still your QB2 despite, some of the flaws in his game.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the thing with Sellers is that there is some projection, of course. He has 1 season as a starting quarterback under his belt. He was a sort of unheralded recruit in the grand scheme of all of it. So like, he was a 3-star quarterback that kind of like comes out of nowhere, I suppose, and starts in the SEC and has this phenomenal season for South Carolina. So that's kind of where all the buzz comes from. And obviously we watched the film from last year, and it was very impressive. And that's how he ends up at the top of this list. And I think one of the things with Sellers that's important to note is like, when we talk about, projection, or like he needs to grow as a player, that is very different than when we were talking about like Anthony Richardson or like Jalen Milroe last year, like kind of talking about like the running quarterback of the class. Very, very different. Like, Sellers is much further ahead of where those guys were heading into this upcoming season.
Anthony Richardson went 4th overall. The NFL believed him too. Don't let them rewrite history. Don't let them tell you that Anthony Richardson was bad coming out. He wasn't. He was fine.
He wasn't.
He was a little raw.
Yes, and that's fine. Like, he was an all-time, like, possibly one overall athlete at the quarterback position with like flashes of high-end quarterbacking on film. And like, that's why he went 4th, and that's why he was a great bet. And like, what has happened so far, like, is it because of the injury? Is it because of the mental like, there's all sorts of rabbit holes you could go down that aren't like relating to his talent as a football player. All of that is to say, like, Sellers, the film from last season, his play from last season he was operating at a higher level than Richardson was at Florida. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about it.
No, I agree. You can catch my full take on that next week.
All right. But from a like comp perspective, or like what does this look like for fantasy, I think I've thrown out the name Lamar Jackson simply because the way that he escapes pressure and escapes sacks is very Jackson-esque. However, his role model, the player that he models his game after, his favorite player, I think is the more applicable comp, and it's still very high end, and it's Cam Newton. Like, he is built more akin to Cam Newton. He's sort of like a tank that also has a cannon. And so, like, when we think about what Cam was in terms of fantasy, I think that's sort of what we're thinking about with Sellers potentially as well. So there's a lot of eyes on him this year, a lot of eyes on that team, a lot of eyes on Nick Harbor. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think Sellers, at the very least, based on what he showed us last year, will be up here at the end of next year, no matter what.
Also, like, holding it down for the glasses community. Really respect him for that.
Yeah.
Wearing the goggles. Like, don't get LASIK, brother. Just keep going.
It's a vibe.
I still like, I know it's scientifically probably difficult, but I wish they could make a prescription visor.
Ooh.
Of like, but I know it's because of like how far your eyes are away from the lens, right, and how concave and convex you gotta like. I know, I get it. If there's an optometrist,
so it's like, why can't we just do it?
Right. Like, this is a pretty low prescription. Throw it in the visor.
All right. LaNorris Sellers, he's a freak show.
Yep.
He is a passing, running threat. Number one for me and number two for you. I think you could say the same thing. I don't think we're talking about a player that's quite at the same level as a runner, but Arch Manning, despite his last name, is a hell of an athlete, and a hell of a running threat at the quarterback position, and one that we haven't really gotten to see a ton of, but what we have seen is impressive enough that he's already up here at number one and number two for us heading into this upcoming season.
My number three.
Your number. Oh yeah. You're number three. Yeah. Sorry. You're number three. Number two quarterback.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So there was a quote that came out recently. Yeah. You want to talk about this?
That's what there is to talk about with Arch Manning, is that his grandpa said he's not coming out. He's not going to be in the 2026 draft. He's doing another year at Texas. And this is kind of the conversation that we've had, kind of prefacing all of our Arch Manning conversations, is like, if he comes out, then we feel really good about him. If he comes out, this, that. And now, we're being told, hey, Arch Manning's not coming out. And whether that's like, it's ultimately up to Arch Manning, the Texas Longhorns football player, whether or not he wants to declare for the draft. He's not like controlled by his parents, and we'll see if that's true or not. His uncles, his grandpa, like whoever.
The Manning family seems a little culty.
Yeah, I'm a little worried, and like we'll see if he comes with like that kind of baggage once the NFL draft comes around. But I think the NFL has a lot of respect for the Manning family. Why don't they have the same respect for the Sanders family? I don't know, but we'll see if it affects anything like draft wise. If teams are like, I'm out on Archie Manning. We're not feeling like, dealing with maybe he will decide that he's not going to even come to my team like Eli Manning did once upon a time. Like, I don't know if that's going to matter come draft time, given his tape looks so good already. Like, the player that is on tape right now is like, hey, if he can do this for a full season, some of these highs that he shows, some of the flashes of like insanely good arm talent, insanely good placement all over the field, and then like the athleticism that he shows, the running that he has, the way that he can escape and use his legs is just an added bonus to the really like impressive arm talent. So we'll see if he comes out. But as of now, we're just going to, until he says himself that he's not declaring, I'm going to just like act like he's in this class, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, it's really tough because it's one of those things where it's like if we get to January and it's like, yeah, I'm going back to Texas, and it's been like 4 months of all the different Mannings being like, yeah, he's not coming out, and then that actually we're gonna feel pretty stupid for being like, well, we've talked about him for 4 months, but I mean, it is hard to say for sure. I mean, like we've talked about it before, I think, but like if he wins the Heisman this year, which is, that's not something that seems like super realistic.
He has the highest odds right now, the best odds.
Seriously? I mean,
yeah, people are in.
He's a great player. It's a great team. I guess I get it, but it seems so far-fetched considering like how limited he was, how many other great players there are that are like, but whatever, maybe it happens. If that happens, is he really gonna like? Can they really tell him that, you're gonna go back, keep learning? Like, what are you learning? You already conquered the sport. You're 20 years old and your first year as a full-time starter.
That's where I'm at. I'm like, this guy is good at football already. In like, he's been one of the like most hyped prospects. He had to sit behind Quinn Ewers, and it's like, Texas, what are you doing? Put him in. And then they put him in, and he's awesome. And it's like, okay, now can we like do this for a full year? And like, can we see? And if we do, what's the point of going back? Like you said, like you're going to do another year at Texas. It's going to be like the same. And maybe you win a national championship and a Heisman, and like, that's all awesome. But like, you could also just like go to the NFL and like lead a team and like do bigger and better things. I don't know. If you want to be a college football legend, maybe that's like on his checklist, and is like, professional athletes much more determined than I am have like their checklist, and they need to check those things off to feel accomplishment. I get it. Maybe he has like national championship, Heisman on that checklist. And like, if he doesn't check those boxes, maybe that's why he goes back. But or maybe he just like doesn't want to play for X bad team, and so he'll just go back.
It's certainly something that we will talk much more about as this season progresses, until we have a firm and definitive answer if what Archie said was not that already. But that is top 12s for Superflex. So I had 7 quarterbacks and you had 4.
I had Sellers, Arch, Allar, Klubnik, and Nussmeier. So I had
5. So I mean, it's very different compared to one quarterback, because I think once we got to the top 5, it was like, man, we're talking about some really, really special guys. Whereas in one quarterback, that was the top 2. I mean, it was like the best running back, the best wide receiver, and then it's kind of just everybody else. So I think even from one quarterback perspective, this quarterback class is very exciting. But I think from a super flex point of view, the notion that the 26 picks are not like as valuable, or that this is a down class, I think that's a lot murkier with Superflex. I think these picks hold a lot of value right now. If Arch does not come out, I think that is a blow to the class for sure.
Yep.
But even then, I think, as guys emerge and we know what's going to, like, the board will be fluid, of course, as it always is. But I think, from a super flex point of view, I'd be shocked if we got to the end of this year and it was like, man, I don't know about this class.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at this as a whole, as a super flex class, it's like, it's not bad, especially the first round. You may be like holding on to these first, hoping that it turns out to be something good. I think that you'll feel pretty good come draft time, because these aren't the only players that are going to be in this class. Like, even if like Arch Manning drops out, it's like, whatever, like we have a lot of quarterback talent in this class, which it also cannot be said for most years. So I would feel pretty good if I was in a super flex draft and I had some 26 first burn a hole in my pocket. It's not the end of the world. So I'll run through mine. I had Sellers 1, Jeremiyah Love 2, Arch Manning 3, Drew Allar 4, Jordyn Tyson 5, Cade Klubnik 6, Eli Stowers 7, Jonah Coleman 8, Antonio Williams 9, Garrett Nussmeier 10, TJ Parker 11, and Carnell Tate at 12.
And I had Arch number 1, Sellers number 2, Jeremiyah Love number 3, Drew Allar number 4, Jordyn Tyson number 5, Fernando Mendoza number 6, Garrett Nussmeier number 7, Cade Klubnik number 8, Jonah Coleman number 9, Makai Lemon number 10, Antonio Williams number 11, and Sam Leavitt number 12.
There it is.
And there it is. And if you enjoyed our discussion rundown of our initial Superflex rankings ahead of the 2025 college football season, be sure to find us on Twitter, camp_dynasty, if it still works. It seems like every time I log on, it's burning more and more to the ground. But
shocking.
I'm shocked.
Never mind.
TikTok, camp.dynasty over there. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure, if you have not done so already, to subscribe to the channel and like the video before you leave, because we very much appreciate it. Helps us out quite a bit. And if you're on the pod feed, it helps us out quite a bit if you like and rate and review and follow and do all of those things as well. That's how we get boosted up in the algorithms that control the world. So if you want other people, see, this is the weird thing about Dynasty content, though. Sometimes you don't want people. If you find a good one, which I hope you think we're a good one.
Us.
Don't, like, you kind of want to be like, I don't want my league mates listening to that.
Yeah.
But, just share the wealth. It'll make for a more competitive league. That's more fun.
Yeah, exactly. And Timothée Chalamet, new movie announced. Our best American actor in the last 15 years. Not close.
Wow. The episode 1 of Camp Dynasty's movie night podcast, we talk about the legacy of young Chalamet.
Yeah,
and where it falls.
How he has finally usurped Brad Pitt as the best American movie star. And it's taken till Brad Pitt was 61 or something like that.
It's crazy.
There we are.
Thanks for stopping by Camp Dynasty this week, and we'll see you next week.